it's Hope here at Crafty Hope, and I'm laughing because my desk, as usual, is a bit insane. It is week 4 of Seek, Gather, Create. This is a mixed media scavenger hunt challenge that takes place on Instagram. It comes from 3 hostesses, Lisa Goddard, Laura Dennison, and Tina Hoyce, and a guest artist. This week it is Tracy at Anonymous Palette. I'm gonna have links to everybody on Instagram below so you can go find them and follow them for more information. But basically the challenge, of course my battery's dying, y'all, let me fix that. What was I saying? Basically, this challenge is a mixed media challenge in which each week for 4 weeks they give us 4 prompts each week for us to seek and gather and create with. So this happens about twice a year. They do this 4-week challenge. This is the first one of this year. So we'll see. Stay tuned. Make sure you're following Tina, Lisa, and Laura to stay updated, and the Seek, Gather, Create Instagram account. Yes. So this week they've asked us to gather something pink, wax, a letter, number, and film or film strip. I have gathered so many things, y'all. So let's start with pink. Pink is not my favorite color, so I kind of just like looked around. Of course, I've got some pink paint, pink embroidery floss. This I looked in one of my little toy bins and just happened to see this little pink. It's one of the little things that like a parachute would be on. He's awful dirty. I doubt I'm gonna use him, but he was pink. He was in my craft room. And then some pink buttons. These are kind of a corally pink, but pink nonetheless. Wax. My immediate thought was encaustic wax. I've got a big bag of it. This is encaustic wax, which is beeswax mixed with Damar resin. It's what encaustic artists use. I've got a little bit in this tin because it was easy to like throw in here. I've also got some home decor wax, some antiquing wax, foundry wax from Ranger and Tim Holtz, and some wax like this is Finnabare's The Art Alchemy Opal Magic Wax. I've got other colors of this. I also have like Rub and Buff as a wax, you know, things like that. I've got lots of waxes. You could also use candle wax because there's definitely ways to do that. I think that's all my waxes. Letter numbers. Let's see, what have I got? I've got these vinyl, they're letters and numbers. I've got a couple of little tags here that have, like these definitely have numbers on them and letters. I've got some plasticky ones here that go in like one of those little sign things. I gathered the letters that are for Seek, Gather, Create, and 25. It was great for my Instagram post. And then I've got these, I think these are Tim Holtz, and they're stickable, but they're also like plastic letters and numbers. So, and then film or film strip. So there's so many different ways to do that. My initial things that I gathered before I took, well, when I took my Instagram photo, were I got some, these are film negatives, of course. This was one of the very first things I thought of. It's a little embossing folder, and I don't even know if you could see that or not. It's a film strip. And then of course I've got shrink film and some double tack mounting film. So, but then I was like, ooh, what can I laser cut? Because, you know, I've been 3D printing and laser cutting all week long, so why not cut out some film strips? So I did some in 1/4 inch plywood, 1/8 inch plywood, and then some heavyweight cardstock. So we'll see. I mean, I'm definitely not using all of these things, so I've got to make a decision here soon because I just have too much stuff going on. The 100-day project has also started, so that's going on. So, lots of stuff. So I'm giving this a think, and we'll get started. I tried to not let myself overthink this like I did last week's, and I pulled out one of these little, it's just a little box thing. I don't even know how it's labeled. It's from Michael's. They sell them like near the checkout where they've got like their dollar and had, it's like their dollar spot area. And I had 3D cut a what is that, an 1/8 inch plywood piece that would fit inside of that. I did that for several different little boxes that I've got just to make it easier when I want to jump in and create something. And I found it in my stash of these like shadow box forms in my office. So I grabbed this and decided to go ahead and sand it down so that I could go and use my first of the 4 prompts, which is wax. So I am using that antiquing wax. This is like a home decor thing. You can find it online or at big box stores, but basically it's kind of like a stain. So if you've got some kind of wood stain, this kind of works the same way. I'm sure there's some kind of fancy way to use this, but this is how I'm using it. So you can see and I'm not going to show you me doing all of this, but basically I brush it on with a paintbrush and rub off the excess. And I'm going to do everything but the center of this panel, the back panel, and then the back of it. So as you saw, I kind of just messily painted it on the inside, and I've got a paper towel and I'm going to rub it off. And like I said, it's just kind of a stain. It's going to darken up this box, kind of looks, make it look a little less cheap. I will say that where any kind of wood glue are on these surfaces, it does not cover it as well. So keep that in mind if you're going to use an antiquing wax like that. Then I took the wood panel that I had. Like I said, this is just laser cut out to fit loosely in that box. And I am putting some gesso on it. And that was just to kind of give, because the papers I'm going to put down, I didn't know exactly how they would do, if they would go transparent or anything on here. So I thought, okay, it's a good primer to even everything out. So I'm going to dry that gesso real quick and then come in with, hey, some letters. So one of those prompts is a letter or a number. I'm using 2 letters here. One's typewritten, one is handwritten. I'm going to bring number in again, but I just thought this was a fun play on that as well. And I'm going to collage this onto that little piece of wood, just using some fluid matte medium and quickly, just sticking that down and spreading it out with this silicone spatula tool. I'll place down my piece of paper and carefully put more of that matte gel over the top of it, trying not to tear the paper. That's part of the reason I'm using that silicone spatula, but a paintbrush would work just as fine as well, to be gentle with it. I tried not to use like some kind of scraping tool, like a key card or something like that, because with old papers like this, it definitely can tear. I think that letter is from the 50s or 60s. I'm sorry, the handwritten letters from the 50s or 60s. It's airmail, so it's kind of thin. And then the typewritten one. So here, once I'm sure it's down, I am going to scrape off a little bit of that excess. The typewritten one is from the 30s or I think it's the 40s. So I'm trying to get some of that excess matte medium off, and I'm going to tear some of the excess that's hanging off the edge. But again, I'm going to try cutting it. I finally decided the best thing for me to do is to just dry it and then try to take it off, because while it's still wet, it's still very, and I had fluid matte medium everywhere, y'all. So I did dry it and tore off a little bit more, clipped a little bit of the excess, and then I'm going to grab a sanding block and just sand the excess off. Actually, I still had that one. I had sanded the what are we going to call that? The shadow box. What I had sanded the shadow box with. So that's a pretty fine grit on there. I'm also trying to be careful because that's still a little tacky. My fingers were tacky and I was trying not to tear that paper. I did get one little spot, but I wasn't super worried about it because I was going to come in with this gorgeous tissue paper. Now, I think this was in a Happy Mail I received from Terry Young. If I have that wrong, Terry, let me know. If somebody else sent that to me, somebody else may have sent it to me. It just seems like something that Terry sent me, but it has pink, and this is how I'm bringing pink into this. Was thinking, I had pulled out all those other things and I just wasn't happy with any of them. I did move a bunch of that stuff around on my desk off camera. Tried to use those laser cut film strips and put buttons in each one of them, or photos. I pulled out so many photos and put them behind that film strip. None of that worked, and I was starting to panic and get a little stressed out, and I was like, Hope, this doesn't have to be that difficult. What else do you have that can work? And I looked up, and across the craft room I could see my tissue paper bin, and I could see this pink floral sitting there, and I was like, oh, that's so pretty. Why don't I use that? So that's what I'm using. As you saw, I put it down with more of that fluid medium, which means that the background of that tissue paper just kind of disappears. And that's why I put down that layer of letters back there, is because then that writing kind of peeks through as an added textural element. So I love, 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 love this, y'all. And the problem with loving this so much is I didn't want to do much more with it. I was kind of like, okay, done. But I knew I couldn't be. I still have 2 more prompts. No, shoot. I only have 1 more prompt that I have to do, which is the film, or the film strip. Once I did dry the fluid medium on there, again, I'm coming in with that little bit of a little bit of sanding to sand off the excess and try not to tear it too much. Then I'm gonna stick it. I did audition all kinds of stuff, so I stuck that in there, and I've got I'd played with this a little bit and decided I kind of wanted to use my film strip as like a fence across the front of this. I had tried thinking about cutting it down or going and laser cutting something that was shorter, but I really like the idea of putting it across and then putting that number at the top and it just saying it to me. The problem was, what do I put inside of it? Like, I had no idea what I wanted to put in it. So I toyed with it a little bit more. Decided to go ahead and distress the edges of it with some distress ink and walnut stain, and of course one of my edges wasn't glued down, so a little more fluid matte medium to the rescue. So yes, I have inked all of that up. And y'all, like I said, I decided that I was going to use this film strip, but it needed to pop a little bit more. So I'm going to bring in some black gesso to paint it black. And my paintbrush, this first go around, my paintbrush has far too much water in it. I kept trying to get the water out of it because as I was painting this on, I was seeing wood. You probably can't see it here, but I was seeing wood, and I was like, no, I need this to be gesso. So I'm probably gonna did that get it all? But y'all, look, that looks so much like film strip now. I'm like, okay, yeah, that looks like film strip. We're good. But because I'm using that little number tag, I'm going to want that number tag is metallic goldy kind of element to it. So I want to kind of bring that forward on this film strip as well. So once I get that second coat of gesso on there, I am bringing in some Rub and Buff, which is a wax, and adding it onto the top of the gesso. And with just my finger, that's just how I work. I believe the color for this is antique gold. I think there's one that's gold leaf and one that's antique gold. And I liked the antique gold because it was a bit more like the gold that was on that number plaque. So, and I'm using my finger and just lightly, you can see I'm just putting a little on there. If I went straight on from the tube onto it, it would just turn the whole thing gold. And I didn't want that. I wanted some of that black to still kind of be showing because that little number plaque is black and gold. I wanted this to be black and gold too. Y'all, I'm so matchy. It's, yeah. So from there, I played with a bunch of different things. And like I said, I really didn't want to cover up that background. So I ended up saying, okay, well, what can I bring in? And out of the corner of my eye in my office, I saw this trim that was like a daisy. And I was like, that's what I want to use. And so, and from there, of course, I was like, how about a button? Of course, a button, because I love buttons. And then I put this super shiny key blank in there, and I just did not like how shiny it was. I did try to alter it with some of the black rub and buff, but it wouldn't stick. So I said, you know what, let me go and get a brass key that I can sand back a little bit, and that's what I did. And y'all, when I sanded it back, the word on there, or at least one of the words on there, is star. And what do you put on a film strip? Stars. They're the stars, like movie stars. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so perfect. So there, I'm trying to show you where it says star. I was so excited about that. I was like, yes, that makes the film strip kind of tie in a little bit more, rather than just adding some kind of texture to it. So I do love this little piece altogether. So now I want to stitch the button onto my little, I don't even know, it's like some kind of trim, y'all, onto that flower trim. So I happened to have some embroidery floss already on a needle on my desk. Actually, that is the embroidery floss that I just used in my latest art journal page, the one that I shared on Tuesday. Y'all should go check that out. That was a super fun art journal page. Anyway, so I'm going to quickly stitch this button on. There are only 3 strands of embroidery floss on this, so I'm going to try to go through this button and this flower as many times as I can. So this, yeah, y'all, this may make no sense, but I love the visual element of this like flower garden in the background and this flower made of found objects. It is so much my jam. I can't even tell you. I love it so much. I do kind of wish I had found some other way to kind of incorporate the film strip than putting it on the front of this, but it kind of works. Like I said, it's like the fence of a flower garden, and it just works for me. So I'm going to line all this up. I'm going to break out the E6000, which is like my favorite glue to put an assemblage like this together. Get it on the back of my flower. That also helps glue down that knot we put back there, and stick it dead center. I want it toward the top. I don't think my key is going to come all the way down because I didn't want my flower to be like too down. Now I'm going to grab a toothpick and kind of go underneath the button to help push down some of those petals behind the button to make sure that the flower is indeed making contact with the back panel. And then I'll grab the 6000 and also glue the key down. When you glue things down like this, just make sure that, like with this key, there's like a valley in that key portion. I don't need to put glue in that. That's not going to make contact with my surface. So yeah, I am using I'm trying to get the sides that are going to make contact, make sure there's glue on it. And then I'm going to stick my key down where I want it, try to straighten it out some. I want to make sure that that star word is visible because, yeah, that tickled me so very much. So, from there, I do not want this to sit at the very back of this box and kind of get sucked into the recesses of it. So I'm adding a little square of some foam core. I'm going, again, use my E6000 and just put it on the back of that wooden panel. I did see some of that E6000 seeping out from my key, so I'm going to clean it up real quick. But I have found if it does come out of there, if you'll take a little bit of a matte medium and go over it lightly, it'll cover it up pretty well. And then to attach my elements that are going on the front of this, I have found I had these little linoleum nails. I think that's what they're called. It's something I thrifted, but they're little brass nails that I just happen to have, and I am going to hammer in these 2 pieces. They're each getting 2 nails. So first, this number plaque, I was having a hard time getting, and I knew that if it wouldn't go in straight, I didn't have a problem with making it bend over the top of it. I was fully prepared to just bend that nail and make it, yeah, be a little weird. I was fine with that. So I get those in just fine, and then I decide that's exactly what I'm going to do with my film strip as well. I did test to make sure once I put this in that I could slip in my my back panel. So that was that's why I'm going ahead and doing this and not putting the back panel in first. And I'm only going to put 2 nails in this, one in the upper right, like film strip hole thing, and one in the bottom left one. And I'm trying to be so careful. This takes me a little longer than I had hoped. It kept slipping around, and I knew that if I hit that laser cut wood piece just a little too hard, it could, because it's only, I think I ended up using the 1/8 inch plywood piece, it could just absolutely go through. And see, I'm trying to hold it with some pliers, and that just, no. It was a whole thing. So I'm sorry y'all watch me struggle, but do know there was a bit of a struggle with all of this. Like I said, I tried to, again, make things a little overcomplicated, and finally was like, what's going to make you the happiest? What's going to be fun to do this project? Because as you know, the 100-day project has also started, so I didn't want to have to struggle with 2 things by overcomplicating anything. So I'm going to get this other nail in there, and then both of those pieces are like really secure in this piece of wood, and you can see that slips in beautifully. So I'm going to grab my E6000 once again, ink it up. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the fact that I ink the edges of that so that the wood color kind of blends into the panel. But anyway, I'm going to put the E6000 on the back, slip it in there, and y'all, this is done. I have seriously enjoyed this project. Once again, See Gather Create always inspires me so much. I hope that you played along with it, and even if you didn't, that you've gone and taken a look at what, beyond me, what other people have created and gotten inspired by these creations. Let me know if you have, and let me know what you think of this. Is it just too wild and wacky and abstract, or do you love it as much as I do? Be kind, but let me know what you think. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.